When we look around in our day-to-day lives, we are so used to seeing different types of pollution surrounding ourselves, whether this be with factories, companies, or most types of transportation. When did this all start? How are we so fixated on fixing the future when we look around and still see it on a day-to-day basis? It all started back in 1760 when the Industrial Revolution happened. They didn't know it at the time, but they created so much disaster for the world we live in now. Back then, they started what was thought to be a great era in our world, an era in which man could make a machine to help. But because of this, we suffered from the mass excavation of coal. The usage of coal before the Industrial Revolution was only a small percentage of the materials being used. Once the Industrial Revolution happened, in the span of 20 years, it almost doubled itself twice. From the years to come, coal only became bigger and bigger. From 1965 to 2018, coal started out as 39% of all energy consumed, while in 2016 it declined to 26%. The sad truth behind this, though, is that the total amount of coal being produced never went down, but it was the usage of oil, gas, and nuclear that increased, while the renewable energies seem to be taking up less than 20% of the entire list. Coal has led to so many devastations of our world, including air pollution, water pollution, and even acid rain. Even with these consequences happening to our world, the people only took action 100 years later when in 1963 the US Congress passed the Clean Air Act. The Industrial Revolution also led to the creation of the automobile. Back in the early 20th century, Henry Ford was the lead promoter for the automobile and was the first person to really hook people into it. There was a mass production of these automobiles which led to many issues that we deal with now, especially since today the leading cause of air pollution in the US is motor vehicles. To be more accurate, the total amount of automobiles in the US is only 30% worldwide, while it contributes around half of the world's emissions. While we do have hybrid cars and electric cars to help with these numbers, the amount of people and cars overpower these factors. Nowadays, we have other means to produce power, such as with the usage of solar, hydro, and wind as the main factors. Companies have started to very slowly integrate, but with all these years passing, larger companies are still using harmful chemicals even while knowing there are more renewable and better options. They seem to want to use non-renewable energy until they have used the last quantity that it has left. In the year 2013, 85% of the world's energy was non-renewable, and only 10% of the energy in the US was renewable. In China, two-thirds of the energy that was being used was from coal energy, and in India, 70% of the energy being used was produced from coal. This was creating such a massive effect on pollution and our ecosystem. And even though this was 8 years ago, barely anything has changed. We can't do a lot to help change the outcome of these larger companies, but we can try and change our own habits by using less plastic, eating less meat, buying locally. Things to better help the community and not so much these already million-dollar companies. At the end of the day, you just need to ask yourself, is this what you want for the future of your family?